Hello and welcome to another Nikke video. Soda's kit is finally here and I'm going to analyze her kit and see how she fares with the rest of the cast. Will we have another powerful variant? Let's find out. So here is Soda, Twinkling Bunny, and she's for the Made For You squad. Type Attacker, Weapon Shotgun, Burst Skill 3, Code Iron. Her Skill 1 is called Lucky Golden Chip and it's a passive. Activates at the start of the battle, affects self. Number of golden chips stacked is 50. Activates after casting 3 normal attacks during full burst time, affects self. Golden Chip, critical damage up 1.32% continuously, stacks up to 50 times. Activates after casting 3 normal attacks during full burst time, affects self and 1 ally unit with the highest attack. Attack damage up 10.51% for 2 seconds. Thanks to the first part of her skill 1 here, as soon as she enters battle, she's going to have 50 chips automatically. And looking at the second part of skill 1 here, seeing how this could be stacked up to 50 times and she already has 50 chips by entering into battle, technically she's going to have 66% of critical damage up immediately as soon as the battle starts. And how you would get more golden chips is whenever you go full burst, every time you do 3 shots, you will get another golden chip. And for the third part of the first skill here, so every time she attacks 3 times, not only will she buff herself, she'll also buff only 1 other ally on the team as well, which is going to give extra attack damage there of 10.51%. It's only for 2 seconds. Since Soda only has 9 ammo, she would technically have this applied 3 times. I mean, there are other allies in the game, and only that, there's also overloaded gear, and only that, also cubes that will actually give her more ammo, but by default, she only has 9 ammo. So every single time that she reloads, she'll be able to have this applied 3 times whenever she fully reloads, of course. And also please note that majority of skill 1 here, it's only going to affect herself. The only thing that's really going to be helping any allies is the third part of skill 1. And even then you still have to complete the burst chain, so please keep that in mind. Next up is skill 2, Beginner Rewards, and it's also a passive. Activates when entering burst stage 3, affects all allies. Additional effects trigger according to the number of golden chips stacked. Previous effects trigger repeatedly. Stage 1, golden chip 10 stacks and above, time extension 1, full burst time duration up 2 seconds. Activates during full burst time. Stage 2, golden chip 20 stacks and above, time extension 2, full burst time duration up 3 seconds. Activates during full burst time. Activates when casting a normal attack during full burst time, affects 1 enemy unit nearest to the crosshairs. Additional effects trigger according to the time extension state. Previous effects trigger repeatedly. Stage 1, when in time extension 1 state, deal 52.04% of final attack as damage. Stage 2, when in time extension 2 state, deals 85.02% of final attack as damage. Alright, skill 2 is extremely long. I think she has the longest thing of any Nikke here currently in the game. But let me go ahead and just try to explain how skill 2 actually works. The first part of skill 2 here, pretty much this first section, it's going to activate as soon as burst stage 3 happens, not when a full burst chain is active, so please keep that in mind. And pretty much how this first section of skill 2 here, depending on how many golden chips she currently has, it's going to be activating a different stage. So for example, if she has 20 or more, not only is it going to do stage 1, it's also going to do stage 2 as well. So looking at the full burst time duration of 2 plus 3 is obviously 5 there. So what this means is that normally for the full burst time duration, usually it's 10 seconds. So for full burst, it's 10 seconds. But with Bunny's Gonna Soda, as long as she has 20 chips and above, it's going to give it to a full 15 seconds. So it's going to be the 10 seconds originally, plus this 5 seconds she's going to be adding here. Of course, if she has less than 20, it's only going to activate that first stage, but it's only going to be pretty much 12 seconds total. 10 from the original plus 2 that's being added there. So please keep that in mind. And also as well, this is going to be activating every single time that somebody else actually bursts as well. So this is since her skill 2 is a passive, and also the first part of skill 2 here, it affects all allies. Technically, when anybody else also bursts too, it's also going to increase the full burst timer as well. So I know that's going to affect some units, and some units you don't want to have the burst timer on more than you have to, where for some other units you do want them on. So please keep that in mind as well. All right, now looking at the second part of skill 2, how this is going to work is also as well depending on what stage you were during the first part of the skill 2 here. For example, if you had 20 chips, it's pretty much going to be activating the stage 2 when in time extension 2 state. That's what it's also going to affect. And how this is going to work is pretty much going to add stage 1 and stage 2 together. So adding them together, you're looking at 137.06% of damage. And pretty much how this works is that if you actually look at the little preview video on the side, every time she actually fires a shot, you're going to notice this little tiny yellow thing appearing on the enemy, and then you're going to notice some coins coming out of the enemy. So it's going to work very similar how Christmas Ludmilla does, where every time Christmas Ludmilla shoots the enemy a certain number of time, it does a little extra damage. What's a little bit different from her and from Bunny Soda is that Bunny Soda, this is with every shot. So how she has 9 shots currently, by default, she would technically be able to have this active for every 9 shots. Not only that, since the full burst timer is currently going on, she'll be able to keep doing this as soon as she fully reloads and does more shots. Also, do not forget too, that the last part of skill 1, the attack damage up, is also being applied to Bunny Soda as well, and also to another ally. And what that's going to do is, since luckily that the skill 2 is a final attack as damage, is pretty much going to make her do even more damage on top of that. I know it's only 2 seconds for the attack damage up for only 2 seconds. Luckily though, is that, she'll be able to keep applying this over and over as soon as she reloads, and also thanks to the full burst timer duration there too. So she'll be able to do a lot of damage with this skill too. Lastly, her burst skill, Onward Soda, is a 40-second cooldown. Activates when using Onward Soda. Additional effects trigger according to the number of golden chips stacked. Previous effects trigger repeatedly. Number of golden chips stacked down 17 after the effects applied. Stage 1 affects all enemies. Deals 628.7% of final attack as damage. Stage 2 activates when number of golden chips stacked is 20 and above. Affects self. Hit rate up 38.91% for 15 seconds. Stage 3 activates when number of golden chip stacks is 30 and above. Affects self. Attack up 65.25% for 15 seconds. Looking at the burst skill here, it's going to mostly depend on how many chips you currently have stacked. The more chips you have stacked, the more effects are going to be able to be applied. But regardless if you have chips or not, luckily stage 1 is going to be applied regardless if you have chips or not, since this is only going to be applying damage to the enemies and not yourself. And looking for the conditions of the -17 there, it's only for that effects applied, and that only happens for stage 2 and stage 3. And again, just like how I mentioned, if you have 30 or above, it's pretty much going to do stage 2 and stage 3. So not only are you going to get hit rate up 38.91% for 15 seconds, you will also have attack up 65.25% for 15 seconds as well. But please note that this only comes to an effect after the burst 3 is selected. For skill 2, it pretty much starts before the burst 3 is selected, and the burst skill, it becomes active as soon as the burst 3 is selected. You're going to have a little tiny gap in seconds, not going to be too much, but there will be a little tiny gap there. Also, please keep in mind that she will no longer be having the 50 golden chips as soon as she bursts, since she will be taking away 17 there. And the reason why this is important is because the critical damage she received on skill 1 is actually going to be modified now. So she's going to be going from 66% critical damage up to 43.56%. Since technically she could stack it up to 50 times, and you automatically get that as soon as you enter battle, and the burst skill will eat 17 of those chips. So it's going to reduce the amount as soon as you burst. But also please keep in mind as well, is that for every 3 attacks that you happen to do while the full burst timer is going, you will get some more golden chips stacked. So that number will keep increasing as time goes on, but just please understand that the critical damage will be lowered as soon as you burst. And also, this only affects herself. Yeah, everything of the burst skill only affects herself. So unfortunately, her allies won't get the hit rate or attack up. Yeah, she's a very selfish unit here. Now, for my final thoughts. Looking at her overall kit, I mean, even though there are a lot of conditions being applied, pretty much to sum it up, whenever she is not bursting, so for example, like let's say you leave her as an auxiliary burst 3, she will have all of skill 1 and skill 2 active. You will be having that 66% of crit damage thanks to her having 50 golden chips. You will have the 137.06% of an additional attack there too. So basically this little extra attack is going to be helping her out do more damage. Not only that, you're going to have the 5-second extra burst duration timer there. And also as well, the attack damage up of 10.51%. That will also be active if she does not burst. But if she does happen to burst, pretty much this is what she's going to have immediately after the burst. She's going to be having the 43.56% of crit damage. Since Bunny Soda's burst automatically takes away 17 golden chips, it's going to reduce the 66% to 43.56% there. Her attack damage up is going to be 10.51%. She's going to have the extra attack again of 137.06%. She's going to have her hit rate up of 38.91%. And she's going to have attack up of 65.25%. And then obviously, as soon as she keeps attacking more, she's going to go ahead and raise her crit damage up, since technically she's going to go ahead and get another golden chip added to the stack, which is going to even increase her damage even further. And luckily, since a lot of her skills actually have final attack, every single the buff that keeps being applied or she keeps gaining is going to be letting her do even more damage. So even though her kit is extremely greedy, she's going to be very, very powerful. As soon as she starts having, better overload gear with some max ammo and attack up, for example, that would give her more chances to go ahead and build up more golden chips. and all of that deal even more damage as well. And in terms of like what possible allies she could actually use in order to increase her skill kit even further here, like for example, for burst 1, obviously leader is going to be a very, very good example there, since leader provides a lot of multiple benefits to the team. For example, there's attack up, there's a max ammo, critical damage, all that stuff that leader applies. I mean, D Killer Wife also as well applies some very, very wonderful things. Like for example, attack damage, attack up, damage dealt when attacking core, stuff like that. Tove would also be another excellent addition, since a lot of her kit revolves around shotguns, not only shotguns, but also actually, you know, basically increasing ammo, reloading their ammo, attack speed, all that stuff. Unfortunately for Tove, I think she needs a buff. I think she needs to buff up the chance to actually proc and all of that. The amount of time that the proc is actually active, I think if basically both numbers were doubled, she would actually be perfectly in there. But unfortunately for Tove to have the whole 3 minutes fully procced, it's very, very, very difficult. But if you do happen to get it to work, yeah, Tove is another wonderful addition to it as well. And as for burst 2, there's a lot of good options as well. I mean, there is Leona. She does a lot of things for shotgun, since luckily Bunny Soda is a shotgun. I mean, one of the good things, for example, would be the maximum effective range for the shotgun units, the critical rate going up there, and all of that critical damage and all that. She also applies a more critical rate for shotgun units too. But I'm pretty sure people are going to go with the standard stuff, which is probably going to be with Crown, since Crown actually provides a lot of benefits to basically anybody for any team comp. You know, she gives attack up, reloading speed, all that stuff. She's a wonderful addition. And obviously also having Naga as well, since technically Naga will be able to help Bunny Soda here as well, you know, giving all the attack up and all of that, also healing Crown in order to go ahead and give all the attack buff that Crown provides. Also, another good option you could put as well is the Bunny, since not only does Blanc actually give damage taken up, you know, to the enemy there, what happens with Noir is that she gets like attack up, max ammo up. Not only that, she also has some things specifically for shotguns. There's going to be hit rate up, damage to interruption parts up as well. There's a lot of stuff that Noir applies to Bunny Soda, but if not, there's also Helm as well. Since what Helm does, she applies the crit rate of normal attacks goes up. Not only that, attack damage goes up, and also the heals too. She provides a lot of heals to the allies, but I'm pretty sure people are going to go with like Leader or Dorothy, and they're going to go with the Crown and Naga, and then, you know, they'll have a Bunny Soda and then maybe somebody else there. I know that there are other burst 3s as well. I was just looking really more for burst 3s that are going to enhance Bunny Soda's kit. A lot of the really good burst 3s, for example, like Summer Anise, all of her kit pretty much affects herself and anybody who's electrocode. And since unfortunately Bunny Soda is iron, any of those buff that electric is going to get will not apply to Bunny Soda as well. Winter Ludmilla is also another example that pretty much all of her kit really only affects herself. Maid Privity is also the same case. Pretty much all of her kit only affects herself. Somebody like Privity would also help, but unfortunately, thanks to Privity's max ammo going down, for Bunny Soda, you don't want her max ammo to go down. You want her to be as high as possible, and also as well to shoot as much as possible as well. And if you want to know if you should pull for this unit or not, how I'm looking at her kit, she is really going to be mostly a bossing unit. Since pretty much her kit is really mostly going to be affecting herself. I know that her burst skill, it does do an AoE, but unfortunately a majority of her kit's not only buffing herself up, but mostly focusing on this extra attack that she's doing with every shot, which would be perfect for bosses. Unfortunately, like for campaign, towers, depending on the stage, and so on like that, it's not going to be too effective for those stages. That's why I'm saying that she's mostly going to be a bossing unit. So if you don't have that many Nikkes, or you're looking for a Nikke that's going to be useful for bosses, this would be one of them. And also as well, they didn't mention it here, but if you actually look at the demonstration video, every time she reloads, she only takes 3 shots. So she's going to be very similar to what Pepper does, where Pepper, she's a clip shotgun, where some units, they pretty much have to reload everything. Like for example, Marciana, she has to reload the full 9 shots in order to actually shoot again. Where Pepper, she only has to reload 3 shots, and then she could go immediately fire, even though Pepper has more than 3 shots maximum by default. And also please keep in mind that every time that anybody goes ahead and does a full burst chain, that the burst timer is going to be 15 seconds every time, which is both good and bad depending on, you know, units. Since I know for a lot of units, I know for a lot of teams, they just want to go ahead and keep bursting as much as possible. But unfortunately, since the burst duration timer is still going, you cannot go ahead and fill up the burst until the burst duration, until the full burst is over. So please keep that in mind as well. But honestly, I think she's going to be a really good unit. But of course, we have to wait for her to be fully out and test her in order to find out. But how I'm looking at it here, so far, she is looking pretty good. I wish there was more units that would actually increase attack speed. There's not that many units that increase attack speed. I know there is Sugar, where she is a shotgun unit and she does increase her own attack speed. Unfortunately, she does not go ahead and increase other units' attack speed. Soling would be another option for attack speed. But of course, again, she only increases her own attack speed. So yeah, there's very few units that increase attack speed, and I wish they actually really seen it that had it, because that would actually increase Bunny Soda's potential here even further. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I know her kit, just by looking at a glance, it looks pretty complex. Hopefully my explanation went ahead and helped you understand her kit a little bit further. And also want to know if you are going to be pulling for this unit as well. I mean, I know there are a lot of good Nikkes in the game, especially a lot of burst 3s. How I just mentioned earlier, yeah, I think she's going to be a good bossing unit. But I don't know if she's actually going to replace any of the current, top meta teams right now, since especially Solar Raid's coming up very soon. So we'll actually see her full potential there. But I still think she's a very powerful Nikke looking at her kit here. But of course, only time will tell. Alright, well hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please give me a like and a sub. I would really appreciate it. I'm Scrublord, and I'll see you in the next video.